Welcome to The Curious Peach. Today we're sharing 3 bizarre survival stories that will leave you speechless. These incredible tales will take you deep underwater into freezing isolation and stranded in the middle of the ocean, each showing how the human spirit can overcome unimaginable odds. In November 2022, James Michael Grimes fell overboard from a cruise ship in the Gulf of Mexico. What started as a holiday vacation quickly turned into a 24-hour nightmare in the middle of the ocean. James, a strong swimmer, accidentally found himself in the water with no life jacket and no sight of the massive cruise ship fading into the distance. Alone in the vast Gulf, Grimes knew the odds were against him. The dark water surrounding him became a constant threat, with the very real dangers of jellyfish stings and possible shark encounters lurking beneath the surface. But rather than panic, Grimes chose to focus on staying alive. He swam tirelessly, telling himself he needed to survive for his daughter. Singing songs to himself became his way of fighting the creeping exhaustion, hunger, and thirst. As the hours dragged on, the elements began to take their toll. By Thanksgiving morning, Grimes was sunburned, weak, and dehydrated. His body felt as though it couldn't take any more punishment. But just when things seemed hopeless, a tanker appeared on the horizon. His final burst of energy helped him signal the ship, and shortly after, the U.S. Coast Guard spotted him. It took tremendous effort to reel in the life preserver they tossed out to him due to the choppy waves, but eventually he was rescued and airlifted to safety. After more than a day in the ocean, Grimes had defied the odds. Suffering only mild hypothermia, his ability to stay calm, keep swimming, and maintain hope was key to his survival. In 1999, Dr. Jerry Nielsen was stationed as the only doctor at the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station in Antarctica, one of the most remote and unforgiving places on Earth. The harsh Antarctic winter meant that no planes could land in the station, leaving her and her fellow crew members completely isolated for months. It was during this time that Dr. Nielsen made a life-altering discovery, a lump in her breast. With no way to get proper medical treatment, Nielsen was forced to take measures into her own hands. The station had limited medical equipment, and performing a mammogram was out of the question. Left with no choice, she decided to perform a biopsy on herself. This wasn't a decision taken lightly. Nielsen practiced by using raw chicken as a stand-in for her own skin, and with the help of her colleagues, she prepared for the surgery. Armed with only basic tools, Nielsen sedated herself and managed to extract a tissue sample from the tumor. The sample was sent to the US, but the results came back inconclusive due to the station's outdated medical equipment. As the months wore on and her condition deteriorated, Nielsen remained in contact with doctors via email and teleconference. There were no proper treatment options available to her, so she had to rely on supplies dropped by a military plane to begin administering chemotherapy to herself. Despite the physical toll the cancer was taking on her body, she continued her duties as the station's physician. She wouldn't be rescued until the spring, making her months-long battle against the illness one of sheer determination and courage. Her self-reliance and refusal to give up inspired countless people, proving that even in the harshest conditions, the human spirit can find ways to survive. In September 2012, Chris Lemons, a saturation diver, was part of a team performing maintenance on an underwater oil rig in the North Sea, about 100 meters below the surface. Saturation divers rely on an umbilical cord for air, warmth, power, and communication, and without it, survival becomes nearly impossible at such extreme depths. On that day, disaster struck when the Dynamic Positioning System, or DPS, on the Bibi Topaz, the vessel controlling the dive site, failed. The ship drifted, pulling the diving bell out of position, and Lemon's umbilical cord became entangled and severed, cutting him off from his life-sustaining supplies. At that depth, Lemons couldn't simply swim to the surface due to the need for gradual decompression, and he was left with only 5 minutes of air in his emergency tank. Alone in freezing, pitch-black waters, he knew his chances of survival were slim. His fellow divers, Duncan Alcock and Dave Uasa, realized the gravity of the situation and rushed to retrieve him, but the drifting vessel and strong currents made the rescue extremely difficult. Time ticked by, and after 5 minutes, Lemon's emergency air would have run out. 30 minutes passed. far beyond what any diver could survive without an umbilical. However, when Alcock and USA finally reached him, they were shocked to find Lemon still alive, though barely conscious. Experts believe the freezing temperatures may have slowed his metabolic processes, reducing his need for oxygen and putting him in a state of suspended animation. This astonishing physiological response, allowing him to survive well beyond the 5-minute limit. Lemons was quickly brought back to the surface and placed in a decompression chamber to avoid decompression sickness. Despite being cut off for nearly 40 minutes, he miraculously suffered no lasting physical damage. His survival is considered one of the most remarkable in diving history, attributed to both the swift actions of his team and the extreme conditions of the North Sea that temporarily preserved his life. Charles Jugin's survival during the Titanic disaster is nothing short of remarkable. As the ship sank, he drank large quantities of alcohol, which surprisingly helped him stay calm and stave off the effects of hypothermia in the freezing Atlantic waters. While most people perished in the frigid temperatures, Jugin swam around for hours without succumbing to the cold. He eventually found himself rescued by a lifeboat, defying the odds while many others tragically drowned. His unique story of survival highlights how sheer luck and perhaps the alcohol in his system kept him alive when so many others were lost. Pascal Berzerly's surviving during the collapse of the North Tower on 9/11 is one of the most extraordinary stories from that tragic day. As a structural engineer working on the 64th floor, he was in the tower when the plane hit. During the building's collapse, he fell an astonishing 180 feet, yet he survived with only minor physical injuries. The emotional trauma, however, stayed with him. Berzerly's experience is a testament to the unpredictability of survival during extreme circumstances, and despite the catastrophic events around him, he lived to tell his harrowing tale of survival and resilience. Louis Zamperini's life reads like an epic adventure of survival and endurance. A former Olympic athlete, Zamperini's plane crashed into the Pacific during World War II, leaving him lost at sea for 47 days, surviving shark attacks, dehydration, and enemy gunfire. After being rescued, he was captured by the Japanese and endured brutal torture as a prisoner of war for years. His resilience didn't end with his release. He later forgave his tormentors and dedicated his life to spreading peace. His story was immortalized in the book Unbroken and its film adaptation, making Zamperini a symbol of human endurance and forgiveness. Brian Udell's survival after ejecting from a jet at supersonic speeds is a rare and almost unbelievable feat. In 1995, Udell's F-15 jet malfunctioned at nearly 800 miles per hour, forcing him to eject. The incredible speed ripped off his helmet and oxygen mask, causing severe injuries. Miraculously, Udell survived, though his co-pilot did not. Despite the extensive trauma his body endured, Udell defied medical odds and returned to flying within just 10 months. His incredible recovery is a testament to his mental and physical toughness, marking him as one of the most resilient figures in aviation history. Adrien Carton de Wiart is often referred to as unkillable due to his extraordinary military career filled with near-death experiences. He survived being shot in the face, hip, stomach, leg, and head, lost an eye, and even had his hand amputated. Despite these injuries, he continued fighting in the Boer War, both world wars, and escaped POW camps. Carton de Wiart's unyielding courage and persistence made him a legend among his peers. After his military service, he continued to contribute as Winston Churchill's representative in China and lived to the age of 83, defying death time and again. These incredible stories of survival remind us of the extraordinary strength of the human spirit, whether battling the vast ocean, the frozen wilderness, or the crushing pressure of the deep sea. These individuals found the will to persevere and overcome the impossible. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more unbelievable tales of survival and adventure here on The Curious Peach.